Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me with this? Is it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. My name is Marge Basita. I'm the chair of ANC 6E, and I am calling this meeting to order. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
Hello everyone, how you all doing? All right, ANC 6E01,
Present.
2, 3, 4,
Here.
5,
Here.
6, here, 7. Thank you.
Okay, there are a number of changes on the agenda, I believe. So if you will just take a look at your agenda. Number 6 is being deferred to our December meeting. Number 6 will be at our December meeting. And number 10 will not be presenting this evening. Is the 317 K Street, are folks here from 317 K? No, okay, so if you would also take number 12 off your agenda. That should do it for this evening. Okay, let's get started. We always have a million things to say and do, and we have got to be out of here by 9 o'clock tonight. I promised the librarian we would do the right thing tonight. I said I would try. Okay, PSA. Sir, you are?
Hi, all. I'm Sergeant Archizell, MPD 1st District.
Okay.
Lieutenant Murphy couldn't make it tonight, so he just came, asked me to come and just talk about 102
Use
and
the microphone right here. Why don't you use the microphone?
Lieutenant Murphy asked me to come and talk about PSA 102 and 103, which is in your area. So I'm just briefly going to go over the stats from 102 and 103, and then I just got 1 or 2 announcements I'd just like to make in reference to that. In the past month, 102 had 21 theft from autos and 9 other thefts. PSA 103 had 1 homicide, 2 assault with dangerous weapons, and 2 robberies. Also 12 theft from autos and 12 other thefts. So before I get into the homicide real quick, we just wanted to mention the theft from autos, we don't have a discernible pattern on that right now. However, you know, it's going into the fall. As we get closer towards Christmas, it's probably going to get a little bit worse. So we're just asking everyone to please just keep in mind when you're leaving your personal belongings in your vehicle, try and leave them in your trunk if you're going to leave them in there, and preferably don't leave them in there at all. You know, and things like you know, like GPSs, cell phones, charging cords, that kind of stuff. Please don't leave them in your vehicle right there. What I did, if you go to the desk over here when you're leaving, I left a flyer that has a lookout sheet basically for a subject of interest in the homicide I'm just going to talk about. So let me just read this off real quick. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. We're currently looking for a transgender individual named DeAndre Hallman, who also goes by Adriana Carter. This is in reference to a stabbing homicide which occurred on October 16th. The victim was a Joel Midget. It happened near Search McCorda and Golden Rule area right there. If you see this individual, and like I said, I got a flyer in the back, so when you're leaving, if you could please pick that up. What we'd like you to do is just call us, okay, so we can go and approach him. The person's not currently wanted. It's just someone we really need to talk to put this case together, okay? In that case, that's all I got for 103 right now. Anyone have any questions in reference to that?
I only have one. I had a complaint in the last 2 weeks about lack of police presence around L Street,
L Street.
where there were a lot of car break-ins and auto,
Do you know specifically which part of L Street?
between 4th and 5th.
4th and 5th, okay.
If we could get somebody to kind of zip through there once in a while.
No problem. I'll tell you, apologize. Probably one reason you're not seeing this one, we actually had moved our resources about 2 blocks over. The homicide had occurred on K Street. So we'd actually been focusing, but we can refocus back on that, no problem. And yeah, we're definitely, the theft from auto is a serious problem, so we are trying to address that as well. So I'm gonna pass it on to Lieutenant Murphy, we'll get more people.
Thank you.
No problem.
What part of K Street?
We've been focusing from the unit block over to the 200 block of K Street. Homicide,
For the homicide.
right, that was the 200 block of K Street is where it actually occurred, so that's kind of where we've been putting our focus. Obviously, you know, it's probably time now to start switching that up, so we'll probably move the resources back over to L Street.
Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Gentlemen, who wants to,
ITZEO.
you got it, 3D.
Might as well step on up here, huh? Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Lieutenant Pierce couldn't make it today, so here I am. I'm Sergeant Poe, spelled like the poet. I've been in 308 for a couple weeks now, so I'm getting back into the grind. I just left the Vice unit after serving 13 years, so now I'm down here with you guys, and usually I'm parked around 7th and O. Now, our main problem down there is, I guess around the city as well, is robberies and a lot of theft from autos. Sergeant just spoke on things you can do, but a lot of the robberies are snatches. And one thing that I see when I'm out here is folks talk on their phone and don't pay attention to what's going on around them. And before they know it, somebody's run up, knocked them down, and taken their phone. So you just gotta watch your surroundings for one. That's the main thing. I'm gonna give you a number also. I can be reached on 202-673-6923 or 6815. Either of those numbers.
Say it again.
202-673-6815 or 202-673-6923.
Your name? Okay.
Sergeant Poe, POE. Any questions for me?
Hi, how are you?
I am
So, I'm Commissioner Nigro, and I represent the 400 block of Rich Street. So there was an incident there very early last Thursday morning, and I was walking around delivering the newsletter, and inside of the doorway for the Metropolitan Community Church entrance there was this half-naked guy, practically all-naked guy, drugged out, kind of crazy. Wasn't sure if he was half dead, but I called the police at exactly 7:12 that morning. The ambulance came first.
Okay.
He was alive, and he refused to go, but he was acting frankly crazy and belligerent and yelling and all that. The last call I made to the police to finally get them to come was 7:42. And the ambulance waited with me because this guy was kind of crazy. So they were very kind and waited with me. But the guy that came was not from 3D, he was from 1D. And what he said to me, "We came because it was you." Well, that makes me suspect, gee, if it was one of my constituents, would anyone have come? Maybe not. Huh? Or was it because I was Commissioner Nigro? So they finally came from 7:12 to 7:42 after four separate phone calls.
When he finally came.
Well, they
take him
dealt with the
away?
guy, he was angry and screaming, all this, and then he like left, and the police officer that did come from 1D was a nice man, so it wasn't like there was anything wrong.
Right.
He got rid of the guy, and he went on his merry way, he got dressed and left.
All right.
But it wasn't a 3D guy, and then he said, well, I came because it was you. Okay, great, thanks. So I'm sure one of my constituents, I always tell my constituents to call if there is someone in that doorway, and it makes me wonder now that if anyone ever comes.
All right, I will
And so if you could tell that to Commander Carroll, that would be great.
pass it along.
Mm-hmm. That was last Thursday.
Gotcha.
Last but not least.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Good evening, all. I believe we have one more question for you. Oh,
Coming over here too. Talk to me.
We're from the Friends of the Playground, and we have concern about the people that are really taking over the playground during the day. You have young people, young babies there, and at first they were right by the gate. Now they have moved to where the pavement is. And it's a big concern because usually when you come to the park, you're there for like 1 or 2 hours. or an hour. But they stay there all day long, they're drinking, they're smoking, and it's getting worse. And we need something to really be done about
Give
it.
me the time this is starting.
Early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
From like,
Just like to 1:30 this evening, it was 20 of them out there, and the kids were on the playground. It was more of them than it was the children.
So you say early in the morning.
No, we say early, not that early, yeah, at least
at least by 11, we see
So
something.
around 11 o'clock. they start coming out.
yeah.
That's when we start something.
We need more, police presence in the area, which is good.
We got several foot beats that are actually down there.
Mhm.
I'll see if one of them can pay a little more attention to
Okay.
the playground.
But my concern is what would you do, because it's a park.
You
You're not
can't-
really
you
trying
can't
to,
drink, you can't smoke.
right, you're not really trying to keep people out. Everybody has access to a park. But the way that they're like, really, the crowds are getting bigger, and they're congregating, and you can't see everything they're doing, but we know they're doing something.
But if they're smoking and they're drinking, they should be in the park.
Right, that's what they're
We'll
doing.
take care of it on that.
Right.
Okay. Hey,
You're welcome.
Thank you, ladies. We have also been in contact with the police department for the last, I want to say, Rochelle, what, 3-4 weeks? Guys, with the men hanging out in that bus stop across the street and hanging out at the far end of the park. So it is very much in our vision. We've been watching and keeping track, and we've been driving police people crazy. But I am glad you stood up and said something, because it's not always just us. When they hear just us, sometimes it stops, goes in this ear, out that one, and we don't always get the response we like. So I'm very grateful that you all stood up and added some comments. Thank you so much. Yes?
Right. Commissioner, have you been over to the N Street Park since you did ribbon cutting years ago to walk through there, to see the kind of activity that goes on there?
I have not, I'm sorry to
I
say.
think you should go over there. You should walk over there and see how those people treat Commissioner Valgrove, treat myself, treat other people. They're very thuggish, they're very belligerent, and we may need to close the park after the city spent $1 million opening it and renovating it. Because if taking it over, little kids don't go there, seniors don't go there, and it's a real nightmare.
Okay, I will make sure that I do that. In fact, I will go over tomorrow, Martin, and I will shoot you an email, okay? Okay, you got it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant Gary Nelson, the 5th District. I represent PSA 501, and I'm here on the behalf of Lieutenant Carlos Mejia. Now, I tend to share a lot of responsibility for community meetings. I love doing them anyway, so I'm here with you all, and I'm here for you guys. First, let's do some house cleaning. I truly apologize for the incident that you had, and sir in the back, we will not close a park. I would rather just fall on a knife before we close a park for kids because of idiots who are messing up the park. That's something that we all have to work together to do, and that's what we have to do. We have to step up, and we have to clean that park up. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be overnight. I can't just wave a magic wand and say the police are just going to get rid of it overnight, because it probably didn't start overnight. But I'd be doggone if we're going to just abandon our parks and our facilities just because of a few deviants in the community. So hopefully these meetings, give us some info. I know I have my own situation. How many of you all are from the Morgan Kirby area in the 5th District? So we have our own situation, and just like with the 1st and the 3rd District had articulated, we have the same issues. First, you have a large transient community. If DC had a heart, all of your communities would pretty much, if it was alive as a human, that would be the heart of the city, because we're central to everything. So to get from, let's say, the Northeast Market, Union Market to Shaw, you have to cross through this neighborhood. To go uptown, you have to cross through our neighborhoods. So we have a lot of transient individuals that come through our neighborhood. We have a large homeless population that's surrounding our community with so many transitional homes and also facilities that provide services. So that's been a challenge. I'm going to start off by just giving briefly stats. I hate giving stats, but I live by them because it helps me understand what I need to do in my beat, but it doesn't tell the complete picture. We have, in the last 7 days, we've had a 65% decrease in property crimes. Also in violent crimes, just for the month, we had a 65% decrease in property crimes in the 7 days. And in the past month, we had a 53% decrease, and we have almost the same for property crimes in that area. However, I am not celebrating because we have now starting to get a resurgent in burglaries. And just like probably the other districts, the MO is someone knocks on the door, and if they get no response or you don't answer the door fast enough, they go around the back and they kick in the door. And on a few occasions recently, they've kicked in the front door. So a couple of things I want to just say briefly about that. We're going into the season. October tends to be the higher crime season, believe it or not, for property crimes. It's not necessarily November or December. It's October, and then after Christmas, people want to break in and see what you got. So, you know, if you're home during the day, if you're working from home, please look out, please pay attention. If you get up in the middle of the night, you use the restroom and get the cookies and milk, please look out your window. One of the things I strongly suggest, and my neighborhood, I live in the country, and I tell my family and neighbors, we turn our lights on. We illuminate the neighborhood as best possible, and my electric bill actually went down. So I can't speak for everyone, but we turn our lights on. You know, we don't play that. We give as much illumination at night as possible because, again, we suffer theft model in the same community in the 5th district as you're experiencing in the 1st and the 3rd. Again, with the cars, make sure your cars look as empty as possible. Don't leave a dime in the car. Don't leave a car charger because, believe it or not, they'll break in the car and steal the car charger. So as we're getting into the holiday season, just be more vigilant. See what you can do to target hard in your homes as best you can. And if you see anything suspicious, say something. Call 911. Also, in reference to the commissioner's situation, there are 2 different agencies that are involved, 3 in this situation, involved with that situation with the naked man. First, we have the Unified Communications Center, who takes in the calls and distributes the calls based on priority. And then you have the Fire Department and Metropolitan Police Department. We are still dealing with K2, which is synthetic cannabinoids that are haunting our community. And that's probably the bulk of many of the situations that you're seeing. People getting naked, looking comatose, and being carted away. At Truxton Circle, I had 6 ambulances come in and get 6 people and take them away about a month ago. So it's still a challenge. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to say that we're in the right direction for some crimes, but we're still I'm starting to see a troubling trend in burglaries. So I'll take questions.
Okay, wait, let me go first, David. Okay, so everyone understands, this is the area that I represent that is only 2 blocks long. So this is 5D, this is where Morgan, Kirby, New Jersey, and N Street, and New York Avenue intersect. There's 2 blocks, and I have more action in those 2 blocks than the rest of my area, frankly. So we will talk about it again, and we'll talk about it every time, and nothing is done. We have people pooping and peeing constantly in the alleys against the New Covenant Church, against my constituents' home, and nothing is done.
Well, let me correct you there because I personally, and I got the film to back it up, go on a daily basis behind that church in the Kirby, and I look for people. I just met Pastor Gregory yesterday, Halloween, because they were having a festivity for the kids, and I gave him my card. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Lieutenant Mejia about getting more resources over in that corner. One of the things you have to understand is many of these neighborhoods are in competition with each other. We have Hanover Place, which has had its violence. We've had the northern part of Bloomingdale, north of Florida Avenue, that has the burglaries. And one of the burglaries I was just talking about today, someone was home, unfortunately. So it kind of spreads our resources in different places. But we do have a dedicated bicycle beat on the evening shift in that community. But I think what we need to do is look at it during the day because they sit across the street in that patch of grass that it's almost like no man's land. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so let me finish. So it's a constant, and I appreciate that you're there, but those men, and there's like 1 or 2 women, are there constantly. It is a day-long experience, and they hide behind the little commercial strip there.
Mhm.
And now the
You say commercial strip?
there's
Yeah,
a barber shop and the little cherry out and all that.
The gym.
So Mr. Chung from Andy's told me today they are now up on the roof. So they are defecating, peeing on the roofs of those stores now. That is something new. I need you guys there. That
We'll
is,
do, and again,
I don't know how else to say it.
we'll do the
So
best we can, and
it just
again,
goes on and on and on.
I understand, and we'll do the best we can to make sure the resources get up there and check on it as frequently as we can.
Well, because they threaten my constituents who, his townhouse is against the
So let
alley.
me ask
That
you
is
this,
unacceptable.
let me ask you this, how often are the police being called?
All the time, he calls the police all the time.
Because
He
on the
called-
evenings,
I'm there, I call the police. He calls the
I've
police.
heard a few, like maybe early on, maybe this year, but I haven't had as many, and maybe it's because it's just frustration. But, you know, if you can just articulate, have that person, I'll give you my number. You know, I'm just like Sergeant Poe, and we work together in the 5th District as officers, by the way. I'll give you my number. If you have that problem and it's prevalent, I need to know when it's happening and where. Because like I said, when I come in, they're across the street. Sometimes I'm able to encourage them to move and have to be careful of their constitutional rights. But I hardly ever see, I've never seen them in the back when I get
Well,
there.
now they're on the roof.
And now they're on the roof, so,
So I'll give
you
you,
know.
so Justin is not here tonight, and so I'll take your number, give it to him,
Probably
because
already has it, but.
it is off the chart. It is
Okay.
just,
So I live in
Wait,
that.
let me ask you this, what time of day is it happening?
So
All day. All
it
day.
happens during the day. There was,
All day.
like
Yeah,
most people
'cause
work
I don't see
during the
them.
day, but there was a time period over the summer where I was working from home. And there's a few people that tend to stand around when you're trying to go, on New Jersey Avenue to go onto New York Avenue to get on 395. And it's the same, there's this one gentleman, has one, it's either a fake or glass eye or something.
I stopped
and-
him Saturday.
So
Yeah.
I found him both defecating in my parking spot and sleeping in my parking spot. And I called the police that one when I saw him sleeping there, and it took about 35 minutes to get there, and he had left by then. And it's a consistent. When I get home at night and I see it there, I'm not gonna. It didn't just happen. So I'll clean it up that night. But it's at least once a week I'm cleaning up someone else's shit in my parking spot, and it's not. I understand that it's not just you guys. It's a bigger problem as a whole. But I see him. I know who he is. He stays
Yeah, I
in the
just stopped, I
neighborhood.
know exactly who you're talking about. He's a panhandler, and one of the problems we have.
There's
that
also a
we-
woman who's always stands to
Yeah.
the woman's
Yeah, I
with
know
them.
who she is too, I
Yeah.
stopped her too.
I saw her on Sunday, so
Yeah.
she's around.
So, again, what we have to do is we have to make sure that someone's taking the initiative on the department to check those locations. But again, you have to understand, when you say, hey, by the time the police get there, we get the calls when the dispatcher gives it to us. And that is a low priority, someone sleeping in the back of a location, in comparison to the person on K2 running in the street or threatening someone with a knife. So, unfortunately, we get there as soon as we get the call. We have 10 minutes to get to the scene, and we get there within 10 minutes. What it's going to take is just an extra initiative to make sure that someone on each shift is checking those locations, often throughout the tour. Because if we rely on the phone calls, we're never going to get there.
But most people work. I mean, not a lot of people who have jobs don't work in the house and are gone from 9 to 5 when this is happening. So it's hard to. It's aggravating when there's we pay a lot in taxes and we know there should be city services. And I'm not saying you're not performing your duties, but it's very difficult for us to come to know when to call if we're not even there.
Well, just what I just said, we're not going to rely on you to call. We're going to be there. We're just going to go and check it out. And I think that's what we have to do. And that's going to be the mandate, that someone checks behind there on the hour, sometime during the hour, to make sure that these guys are not there. And if they're there, arrest them.
So we have
So he has two
cameras, so
separate
I
alleys,
can.
connected to two different
Oh, I know.
alleys.
So if you're
Both
saying that
alleys.
they can go every hour, we have cameras in the back, so I can go through them at the end of the day and see.
Well, here's the thing, and again, as the officers are available, because we don't just serve
No, I
that
know.
corner, we don't even just serve the PSA. We often get called outside of the PSA. But the best I can do is to try to get an initiative where we have someone go back there as often as they can to check it. But I can't guarantee we will be there like 9 times in a tour,
No,
or
I
eight
understand.
hours in a tour, because again, we have other,
And I think especially for
priorities.
this small area, this small little subsection of the ANC, it's very aggravating because we're on the edge of the ward, on the edge of the police district, in which sometimes, there was a surge of crime over the summer. My house was broken into, and on many occasions we felt like, the 3rd district is on the other side of New Jersey Avenue, and they won't come to us. And then you guys, if your base station's over on Bladensburg Road, it takes a long time to get there. So it feels like we're kind of left in the dry in a lot of areas because we're in such a small little section.
Well, I'll just have to I would say this, regardless of where the station is, the officers are there. They are on the street, they are in the neighborhood. Again, They could be on Lincoln Road, or they can be at Dunbar, or they can be on Florida Avenue, or they can be in Richardson Place. So, or the gas station at the BP. So, you know, take your pick. I can give you like 10 or 12 locations that have similar types of challenges that the officers are trying to, and myself, combat. Because I don't sit in the office, I'm constantly out there.
No, I understand.
So, you know, again, here's my phone number, folks, for those who live in that area. It's 301-674-4196. And I work primarily 2 to 10, Tuesday through Saturday.
What's your last name?
Nelson. Yes, sir.
Repeat the number.
It's, well, hold on a second before you ask your question. 301-674-4196. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The only drug it seems to be talking about for the past year is K2. We assume that anyone acting weird is on K2?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I said. But I would say that in retrospect to the description that the commissioner gave, and we've heard so many other times, 90% of the time it could be attributed to K2. Now sometimes it's PCP, and we still have a heroin problem, and crack and marijuana haven't gone anywhere. But when it comes to the just outright acting out, and a lot of the situations, I've even had officers injured because of this K2 stuff in the neighborhood. Much of what we've experienced has been attributed to synthetic cannabinoids.
The DOH director talked about heroin recently. It doesn't trigger violent behavior. That's what
Right.
she testified to.
Right, well,
It's
again,
not heroin, right?
well, not necessarily. Most of it is K2. Yeah, it's K2. Any other questions?
Very good. Thank you so very much for coming this
Thank
evening.
you.
Men in Blue, we'll see you next month. Thank you so much. Before I forget, members of the commission, would you look and make sure that you approve of tonight's agenda? I kind of skipped it.
The minutes, Mark.
I haven't gotten there yet. Okay, so we're all okay with the agenda? Okay, and can I have a motion to approve last month's minutes? I need someone to make the motion.
So moved.
Okay, and Alex is making the motion, Karen and Antonio second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that's, minutes have been approved. Let us take a second and welcome Mr. Frank Maduro from the mayor's office. He is the community liaison. They have a new name for it under Mayor Bowser. It's the Mo something or other. Moker. And he has a message from the mayor's office.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for all of your great work. Like you mentioned, Chair, my name is Frank Maduro, and I am the Ward 6 liaison to the mayor's office, better known as MOCR, for Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. I am here tonight to talk to you a little bit about the mayor's initiative for ending homelessness. You probably heard about it. And we're basically seeking your support and the commissioner's support to ending homelessness in the District of Columbia. By 2017 for the veterans and for 2020 for all homeless individuals in the District of Columbia. Mayor Bowser has a plan to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. To achieve this goal, the mayor has announced an all-8 ward strategy that includes legislative and administrative measures to improve the district homelessness crisis response system for families. Some of the goals is to close DC General and replace it with smaller, more significant community-based emergency housing located across the city. As policy, make shelter available to families who need it when they need it and not just during hypothermia season. Prevent or decrease the amount of time that families experience homelessness by connecting them more quickly with housing and support services, and also provide safety to families whose eligibility for shelter or other homeless service cannot be quickly determined by creating interim eligibility placement into shelter. So basically, we have gathered about close to 10,000 pledges throughout the city for support to end homelessness. And this pledge is basically saying that we all agree that we have a homeless problem here in the district. What we want to do with this letter is basically communicate it to the local government and to the federal government so that we can all be in agreement that we all face this crisis here. And what we're gonna do with that is try to create more funding to be able to resolve the homeless problem that we have. So with that said, you know, I wanna ask for your support to end homelessness all together by 2020. So thank you for your time, and I hope to have your support. I also want to leave you with my information. If you have any questions or you have any concerns, please reach out to me. My email is Frank, F-R-A-N-K, Maduro, Frank period, Maduro, M-A-D-U-R-O, @dc.gov. And my phone number is 202-538-0313. Thank you.
Frank, my comment, you've heard me say this to you, but I'll say it in public so everybody hears it. I think the mayor should have produced her plan so people can actually see where she's putting these shelters for other people. Because my first question was, show me the address in Tenleytown, show me the address in Friendship Heights and MacArthur and Cleveland Park, that there's going to be shelters there. That is not only shelters in areas like ours where we have large populations of affordable housing and projects from years ago that are still in existence. I feel that unless I know that the mayor is going to put one of these places for folks to live in the middle of Ward 1 and Ward 3, you know, they're all great signing your pledge, but they are saying sign the pledge, but don't bring them here. And I